Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So a few days ago, I just received my first dose of the Moderna mRNA vaccine. Hi guys, today is March 25th, 2021, Thursday, and I am actually heading to get my first COVID-19 vaccine. I believe it is from Moderna, and I'm only getting my first shot.
Okay.
Thank
now,
you very much.
You have to sit for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, over there. We have a paramedic there. If you feel weak or sick or anything like that, you let him know.
Okay.
That way he knows that you've had your vaccine.
Thank you very much.
Okay, dear, so make sure you sit now.
Okay.
We don't want you to leave.
Okay, I'll sit for like 15 minutes or
15
something.
minutes.
Okay, thank you. And I know I've been talking about that since May of last year. And you asked me, how did I feel? I feel mostly fine other than some soreness at the site of injection for about 24 to 36 hours. Now the soreness did feel a little bit stronger than a regular flu shot for some reason. I felt like it was being punched by a person in the arm that was actually pretty sore for that period of time. But other than that, I felt completely fine. And you may ask me, why did I choose the Moderna vaccine? Well, I didn't get to choose at all. I just took whatever the Department of Health had locally. So with all those different vaccines, one of the most commonly asked questions by my students and other people from the internet was, well, which one is better? Or what does this efficacy really mean? And today we are going to have answers to these questions. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, I'm Dr. Han. The goal for this channel is to connect everyone with scientific fact, and if you want to be connected, please consider subscribing to the channel. This channel needs your help to reach more people. So today we are going to look at what does efficacy actually mean. And first, a disclaimer, this video is my summary and interpretation of publicly available scientific information. This video is not intended to serve as any advice on treatment, diagnosis, and prevention of any diseases. And if I mention any commercial company in this video, I do not have affiliations with them. First, let's use this table to look at the background information for today's talk. Now we have Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson approved for emergency use in the US, ranging efficacy between 95% to 72%. We also learned that the AstraZeneca vaccines and their US trial efficacy is 76% based on their latest press release. Now also notice the timing of these data collections. For Pfizer and Moderna, they were a little bit earlier. They reported in November 2020, and Johnson & Johnson reported their data range to January of this year, and AstraZeneca also included their latest data from February. Now based on this information, we're going to look at some of the questions for today. So the central question for today's talk is, does this lower efficacy means less effective? Well, to address this central question, I'm going to look at how efficacy is actually calculated, what does efficacy actually means, and what affects the efficacy of a given vaccine. Fact number 1, how efficacy is calculated. Now when we just look at the reported efficacy from Pfizer's vaccines and Johnson & Johnson's vaccines, we are comparing 95% versus 72%. It is easy for people to think, hey, 72% seems to be lower, but it actually does not mean Johnson & Johnson vaccine is 23% less effective. And let's look at the Johnson & Johnson's data. In order to look at how efficacy is calculated from the Johnson & Johnson data, we need to look at the number of participants or volunteers in each of the placebo group and the vaccine group, and we are focusing on the number in the US trials. And we had 8835 volunteers in the placebo group, where 112 people were infected. Comparing to the vaccine group, we have 8958 volunteers and 32 were infected. If you're looking at the percentage, you are looking at 1.27% infected rate in the placebo group, and likewise 0.36% infected rate in the vaccine group. In order to look at the efficacy, we need to look at the percentage. So efficacy is calculated by doing this: percentage infected in the placebo group minus percentage infected in the vaccine group divided by percentage infected in the placebo group. And when you plug in the number, we have 1.27 minus 0.36 divided by 1.27, and we yield an answer of 0.717, or about 72%, just like what the data reported by Johnson & Johnson. Now that we understand how the efficacy came along from a calculation standpoint, what does efficacy actually means? Because efficacy is actually comparing the number of infected people in each of the placebo group and the vaccine group. So 72% efficacy actually means a 72% lower chance of getting infected, comparing both branches. And the WHO minimum on the COVID-19 vaccine efficacy is 50%. And in comparison, according to the US CDC, our regular seasonal flu vaccine effectiveness ranged from 40% to 60%. All three emergency authorization used vaccines and the AstraZeneca vaccine are 100% effective, protect against death from COVID based on the published and released data from the company. So the next question is, well, what affects the efficacy of a vaccine? Why there's such a huge differences between the mRNA vaccines and the Adenovirus Vector Vaccine? To answer this question, instead of looking at a technical standpoint just based on their technology, let's look at the timing of their clinical trials. And actually, time frame is the key. And here on the right hand side, I have the smaller version of the table. I want you to focus on the timing of those data collections. And during Moderna and Pfizer clinical trials, when we are looking at the strain of the coronavirus, this particular D614G mutant was the major variant, and we know that our vaccines were okay against this particular variant. However, when Johnson & Johnson started their trials, and in particular in the US, which started in late September 2020, the UK and South Africa variants has emerged, and the UK variant actually are taking over as the major strains in many countries. And these strains have known to escape some antibodies from the vaccines. And this led to the data including efficacy against these variants, which appear to be lower than those from the Moderna and from the Pfizer. And it is really important to note that we don't know anything about the efficacy data would be if the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer vaccines were to work against these newer variants. So the take-home message for this week is that we cannot compare which vaccine works better based on the efficacy number. And lower efficacy number does not mean less effective. And the efficacy means lowered chance of getting infected based on the clinical trial result. And all current COVID-19 vaccines in the US are 100% effective to protect people from dying from the COVID-19 disease. And very importantly, we need to pay attention to the vaccine trials period, and they were different, and no one knows how the efficacy data would be for Moderna and Pfizer if the UK and South Africa variants were included in their trials. And here is the list where I collect information for today's talk, and these links are in the description box down below and you can check that out. So I hope this video helped explain what efficacy actually means, and if you have more questions about COVID-19 vaccine in general, please use the comment section down below and put it down, and I'll try to get to it one by one. And meanwhile, I'll also keep you all posted of my vaccine experience and if I feel anything wrong at all. And that's all for this week, and I'll see you again next Sunday 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of COVID-19 related science video. And meanwhile, please stay safe and healthy. Bye.